It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right.
Yeah.
So apparently the talking points is, now that we've gone through 5 hours of the show, it's the first thing that you and I noticed. We went, every single story says Israel, limited attack on Iran, limited attack, limited. Like, really, they're really pounding that out.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the other option if it's not limited?
Unlimited.
Right. Was anybody expecting an unlimited? I mean, what is... We don't know what Democrats mean by secure, so... And you know that came out from the American military, which was limited, as opposed to what? Now, we know they might have attacked an Air Force site near nuclear plants, whatever, and also Iran proxies. They also hit in Syria and other places. And so, of course, it's limited because the only other option is unlimited. So you have to ask yourself, why wasn't the story just Iran strikes back and strikes back at these particular areas? Why use the word limited? I believe they're using the word limited because the administration wants that in the talking points in order, hopefully, it's not going to work, but hopefully to keep the far left, the pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas portion of the Democratic Party, hopefully keep them quiet. It's not going to work, though.
No, it isn't going to work. We officially now have a war in the Middle East that has escalated to, it's kind of unlimited at this moment as to what it might be.
We'll see.
And the problem is that Iran is going to respond to Israel. And it's far, far, far from over. So today you'll have Kirby. I'm sure the question will come up. And what we'll watch for is if he uses that word. Oh, well, this was just a limited attack. It's just a small attack. These are tiny missiles. I mean, what are you trying to achieve with that? It was just a soft attack. By the way, I came up on the cannibals thing. I did come up with the politically correct word, and I don't know how we didn't think of this before.
For cannibals?
Yes.
Okay.
For cannibals, there already is a politically correct word. So if people eat primarily vegetables, they're vegetarian. If you eat primarily humans, you're humanitarian.
All right.
They're humanitarians.
They're humanitarians. Okay. Thank you very much. I like that.
Yeah. But Kirby.
So if someone says, Gary, you're not a humanitarian, I take that as a compliment.
Yes. You're right. I don't eat that. My diet consists of, in fact, 0 humans. Proud to say. 0 humans.
Now, I do bite my tongue once in a while, but it's not because I'm hungry.
Exactly. I've bitten my lip, my tongue. Yeah. It will be interesting to watch, though, today if Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre try and position it that way. I think we'll probably look for
I think
Kirby
so.
to position it that way. Well, this is just a limited attack.
I've seen it. It's
going to be Baghdad Bob all over again.
Every single network that I've looked at, even Fox, has the crawl limited in quotes.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, it seems like everybody's on board to try to keep the far left quiet. It's not going to work. You have to understand this was limited. Don't riot at Columbia.
Right.
You know, don't riot at Google or don't protest at Google because it's limited. Mm-hmm. First thing I read like 3 different stories. Everyone said limited. I'm like, well, what's the other option? Unlimited.
Yeah.
That means they've destroyed Iran, and we knew that wasn't going to happen. So why are we using the term limited? Why is that word in every single headline that I read when I woke up last night?
Right.
And I went, okay. They want it in there in order to hopefully sedate the far left.
Right. Yeah. It's only a soft attack. It's essentially just the equivalent of calling them names. I mean, think it through. They're trying to soft sell this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a war in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And officially, that's the case.
Well, no, it is a war because what you have is Iran proxies that they finance.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Biden administration.
Yeah.
That's been going on,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's directly back and forth.
Yeah.
So
Iran with
you've got it going on. Right?
Drones and now Israel with their counter, and Iran will counter as well. They've already warned Israel that if you attack us inside of our borders, then then expect that we're going to come back at you, which the entire world does.
All right, so there's two stories that Alan gave me back to back. Thank you, Alan, for these stories.
Mm-hmm.
But they're back to back, and it's hilarious. The first one, White House will make sure gas prices remain affordable heading into the summer, Biden advisor says. Now, they're not sure how, but they're going to do whatever they can, and they're even talking about tapping more out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. All right, so that's...
Might as well empty it.
Right, so that's story number one. Story number two, report. Biden's latest reelection gambit may be declaring a national climate emergency. Well, you can't have one. You can only have one. You can't have both.
Right.
Well, we're going to have a national climate emergency and ensure that we open up a lot more fossil fuels.
Yeah.
What? But here it is here. This is wow. The White House, I'll read it and then we'll comment. White House officials are weighing whether to declare a national climate emergency several months out from the 2024 election. People familiar with the matter told Bloomberg. Biden's top advisors have returned to the conversation about declaring such a national climate emergency, though those in discussion appear to be divided on the move, the sources tell Bloomberg. While the move, the sources say, would stunt offshore drilling and curb greenhouse gas emissions, others think the move would help energize young voters, particularly those with a focus on the climate, Bloomberg reported. President Biden has treated the climate crisis as an emergency since day one and will continue to build a clean energy future that lowers utility bills, creates good-paying union jobs, makes our economy the envy of the world, and prioritizes communities that for too long have been left behind, White House spokesperson told Bloomberg while not commenting directly on the reported discussions. The decision, Bloomberg notes, has not been made, and such conversations could carry on as long as several years. Well, the election is in November.
Yeah.
The president's administration previously considered a similar measure in 2022 once negotiations over a clean energy legislation failed. Bloomberg reported Biden has also declared a climate emergency in 2023 when he implemented conservation policies, the outlet reported. Well, look, here's what they're going to do. They're going to call a climate emergency but do nothing because they cannot have higher gasoline prices or energy prices as a result of doing it. So I think they may call a climate emergency but not do anything. Because as we mentioned earlier, the states with the greatest GDP last year were all energy states. Mm-hmm. If you look, for example, and you compare, and I'm using Texas, but you could also use New Mexico, North Dakota, Wyoming, anyone that's an energy state, even West Virginia in there. But you just using Texas as an example, the growth rate, the GDP rate of Texas, gross domestic product of Texas, was, and this is percentage-wise, 8 times that of New York. Texas economy grew 30 times percentage-wise greater than Wisconsin. Now, money-wise, it would either of those states no matter if it was the same percentage, because Texas has such a larger economy and larger population than New York or Wisconsin. But that's just an example of what's going on. Energy right now is what's driving the economy. What Biden and the Democrats wish to kill, and when they claim the economy is doing great because of the extraction of oil, natural gas, and coal.
Yep.
Most of the coal to ship overseas or whatever else we're mining in the states that allow mining. That's what's driving the economy. And they don't want that to happen. And the states that are refusing to be energy states, their GDP last year was extremely small.
Right. Well, imagine what a North Dakota would be. Without energy, it would be nothing. Without energy production, North Dakota, their economy would be nothing. Imagine if they had to shut down West Texas oil completely.
Oh, it would severely hurt Texas, yeah.
Now, with the opposite viewpoint, glass is half full kind of thing, imagine if every state were going after their oil in the ground and they were producing like these other states. Imagine if all these states had a GDP of 5% or greater. Heck, even 4%, 4.5%.
Just to go over the numbers again in case people missed it, because we know people are waking up. The U.S. economy last year expanded by 2.5%. Okay, that was the average. And while the rest of the press missed it, fossil fuel producing states led the way. North Dakota, 5.9%. That's over double the national average, 5.9%. Texas, 5.7%. Wyoming, 5.4%. Oklahoma, 5.3%. Alaska, 5.3%. West Virginia, 4.7%. New Mexico, 4.1%. Mining, which is natural gas and oil also, contributed to 2 to 3 percentage points of GDP growth in those states. GDP growth in most other states was sluggish, especially in the Northeast, like New York, 0.7%. New Jersey, 1.5%. Mr. Biden boasts about the Midwest manufacturing boom, but it's not happening. Wisconsin, 0.2%. Ohio, 1.2%. Illinois, 1.3%. Indiana, 1.4%. And Michigan, 1.5%. Mr. Biden will never admit it, but privately financed fossil fuel production is doing far more to boost the U.S. economy than his hundreds of billions of dollars in spending on electric vehicles and green energy. The latter may even detract, as we have said. I'm glad they put that in there because we have always said, no, it actually detracts from the economy.
Right.
When the government mandates that you buy a product that uses taxpayer money, subsidizes using taxpayer money, and the company can't make a profit on the product that they produce, even with the taxpayer money involved in it, that's a negative draw on the economy. It's not a positive.
It's a cash drain, yeah.
Because
it's a wealth drain.
Right, because all that money and capital that's used from the company and the taxpayer capital could be used for productive purposes for things that would make a profit, and that's what they would be invested in.
Right.
It said, let me see, 2 exceptions to the fracking boom were Ohio and Pennsylvania, where natural gas production last year was roughly flat. Why? Because of the persistent shortage of pipeline capacity to transport gas, which owes to permitting obstacles by the feds and Northeast states that will not approve the pipelines. So they have the energy, but they can't move it.
Right.
And as we know, the president killed the Keystone oil pipeline that destroyed tens of thousands of union jobs for no reason at all, except imagery. And it's false imagery, even by his own administration. It did the opposite to help climate change by their standard of what climate change is on the left. There was no outcry whatsoever.
Nope.
None.
No.
Which makes you ask the question, what do Democrats actually believe?
Right. What are they trying to achieve?
There is no consistency in the Democratic Party at all. None. So there you go. They go. Even so, the U.S. gusher of fossil fuels have kept energy prices lower than they'd otherwise be. Natural gas prices reached an all-time low of $1.49 per million BTUs last month, which, along with the mild winter, has reduced heating costs for tens of millions of Americans. This is the ultimate, though. You folks in Illinois, listen to this. Illinois Governor Pritzker, a climate change obsessive, nonetheless tweeted last month that thanks to the Biden administration's vision and leadership, the U.S. has achieved energy independence for the first time in 40 years. He highlighted a chart showing that the U.S. recently became a net exporter of oil, natural gas, and coal, while China's net fossil fuel imports have grown. Cognitive political dissonance. Thy name is Pritzker. It's amazing. There's Pritzker promoting everything that he is against because it boosts the economy, that he's against how the economy is being boosted.
Yeah.
Nobody calls him on it.
Nope.
Democrats don't sit there and say, hey, you're a hypocrite. The wacko environmentalists don't.
No.
It's like, we're just going to go after Republicans, but let Democrats do whatever the hell they want. They can promote fossil fuels. We're not really going to get on their case. There's just no consistency at all.
There
It's
isn't.
like, which is why I always ask, what do they believe in besides power?
Everything is driven toward that. Everything is driven
Power
toward
and
that.
control, but for what purpose?
Well, to what end? Yeah.
Conservatives want power and control to do what? Why do we
To improve a society, to maintain liberty, to
you got it right.
exactly. all of those things,
protect the rights of individuals,
which benefits everybody.
right? The power and control or authority that you get,
Right.
because it's more authority to do things, would be to strengthen the Constitution.
Yes. Exactly.
And have a great economy.
Right.
Freedom,
Right.
liberty.
Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Friday is opening day for the 2024 National 4-H Conference held in Crystal City, Virginia.
There are only a handful of national 4-H events that bring youth from every state together. To be able to come to Washington, D.C. for National 4-H Conference is really just an extraordinary experience for some of these young people who have never left their county. For many of them, it's the first time that they're getting on a plane.
Youth and 4-H National Coordinator for the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, Annie Cesarini, says almost 350 4-H members from U.S. states, territories, and tribal lands will participate in the 6-day event. For the conference kickoff,
The Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, will talk to them during the Secretary's Assembly, which is the main event at conference. It kind of kicks off the entire event where they get to hear from the Secretary, and this year they'll get to ask him questions and do a fireside chat.
4-H conference delegates will also pay a visit to USDA headquarters on Monday. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just the cannibal thing yesterday just blew up, and I just saw on social media now somebody put together, a trailer of a fake movie called "Cannibals Ate My Uncle." It's just. But the other thing is, what's so bad about that? That's something because it's so bizarre. It was so bizarre, and it's so untrue. We know so much of the story is untrue. I mean, his uncle wasn't a pilot; his uncle was a passenger. And he was saying he flew reconnaissance. He didn't. I mean, all that was false. But his presentation, he looked like a zombie and sounded like a zombie.
It was weird.
It was weird.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Last half hour, we brought you the story that inside the Biden administration, they're thinking of calling a climate change emergency. At the same time, they're guaranteeing that gas prices are going to go down because they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that gas prices are down for the summer driving season, whether that means tapping in again to a strategic petroleum reserve that is extremely low, lowest than it's been in the longest time. But you can't do both. Right. You can't sit there and say, we're going to have lower gasoline prices, but we're going to call a climate change emergency. And so there's debate inside the administration as to whether they're going to do it or not. But the other story is Republican attorney generals from 25 states yesterday sued the Environmental Protection Agency to block rules intended to reduce emissions from cars and light trucks and encourage electric vehicle manufacturing, arguing the agency exceeded its legal authority. The lawsuit challenging the regulations for passenger vehicles, finalized on March 20th by Biden's administration, was filed by attorneys generals from states led by Kentucky and West Virginia in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. The EPA rules aim to cut fleet-wide tailpipe emissions for cars and light trucks by nearly 50% from 26 to 32, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 7.2 billion tons by 2055. The Kentucky Attorney General said the rules would harm the American economy, threaten jobs, and raise prices while undermining the U.S. electricity grid. Coleman said that there's very little consumer interest in electric vehicles in his state. Republican state officials have said the rules amount to an attempt by the administration to transform the American passenger vehicle market improperly through strict rules that make it difficult for manufacturers to produce gasoline vehicles. The Biden administration is willing to sacrifice the American auto industry and its workers in service of its radical green agenda, and we're just not buying it. So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, that was their whole goal all along, just reduce the tailpipe emissions where you just can't produce gas-powered vehicles anymore.
Right.
Just can't do it.
Right.
All right, our audio cut of the day. I'm amazed that this didn't get more with all the Democrats' obsession with abortion for the 2024 election. When Bill Maher said this, I would have thought somebody from the left would have commented, because it's just mind-boggling what he said. It really is. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, because that's what he's thinking. And the weird part was, and we'll get to it in a second, but this is where he said abortion is almost murder, almost murder. And then I'm just okay with that. And we said, okay, so it's almost murder. Does this mean you're okay with almost? And the reason was he's okay with it because we have 8 billion people. So for population control, almost genocide is okay. Now, we're not sure the definition of almost murder and almost genocide. Maybe the former OJ lawyers would be able to parse that one.
Maybe.
But when he said it, you just shook your head. Or I shook my head going, I don't believe he's saying this. And then when he looked at Piers Morgan and said, well, you're pro-choice, you believe this, and Piers Morgan is shaking his head up and down. I'm like, oh, my God, you've got to be kidding me. I thought somebody from the left would come and say, abortion is not murder. It's about a woman's choice, and it's not almost murder.
I was expecting one of the major newspapers to write a rebuttal on it.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's not sort of murder. That's what they should have come out with. I mean, that's what you would expect normally. Is that, no. Quit saying it's murder.
And I think the problem with it is, again, the Rasmussen polling came out. 66% of Americans, almost two-thirds of Americans, and you and I went through a number of polls earlier this week, and they fluctuated up and down. But if you ask the specific question about the time limitation, two-thirds of the American public is for restrictions on abortion, which means inside the womb.
Right.
And I didn't see it. I didn't see the poll for 66% on women, but if it's 66%, most likely there's not a huge difference between men and women when it comes to abortion.
Right.
But men are a little greater pro-life than women, but on most polls, but not drastically so. So you would have a majority of women that also believe that. And as we said, once you take away the argument that it's my body, and you do that when the majority of women believe, I'm talking about the culture in our society, not reality, but once you have the majority of women say that there should be restrictions inside the womb, then it's no longer about the woman's body. It's about when society believes that child is a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And is that why? Is that greater now than ever before? And that's why there's been no reaction to what Bill Maher said? He's always been pro-choice. Piers Morgan has been.
Right.
And it's like, it's almost murder, and I'm just okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, my God. I mean, talk about, you think that the face and narrative of Mayorkas is cold and callous? Bill Maher said, hold my beer. Because what he explained was as cold and callous as you could possibly get, because he said it. Let's play it.
I can respect the absolutist position. I really can. I scold the left on when they say, oh, you know what? They just hate women. People who aren't pro-life, pro-choice. They don't hate women. They just made that up. They think it's murder. And it kind of is. I'm just okay with that. I am. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. I'm sorry, we won't miss you. That's my position on it. What?
By the way, do you hear the audience to that?
Well, and his panelists are stumped by it.
Yeah.
Like,
they were. Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. Where do we go with
Yeah.
this?
We'll play the rest of it here. I just wanted to stop where you heard just the murmur in the crowd going, oh, my God. They don't even know how to respond to it.
No.
Let's play the rest of it. Here we go.
It's quite harsh, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not
Is
sure
that not your position if you're pro-choice?
Isn't that mainly because you don't like children? I mean,
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no. I mean, but if you are, you said you're pro-choice. That's your position too.
And he's shaking his head. Piers Morgan shaking his head. Yes, so you've got two people agreeing that abortion is almost murder, and they're okay with it because of excess population in the world.
Right.
Which means, are you then, so you're pro almost genocide? Whatever the almost means, they haven't explained what that means.
Yeah.
Because nobody has defined almost murder or almost genocide.
Yeah. Kind of murder. It's kind of murder.
Kind of murder.
Kind of murder. It's kind of. It kind of is. No, it is.
And I just thought there would be an explosion from pro-abortion groups. Nothing.
Yeah. No, there was nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Did they even commented on MSNBC? Did The View comment on it?
I didn't see anyone respond to it. I didn't see anybody respond to it. And typically, you would. Again, I was waiting for some kind of big opinion piece and rebuttal of it in Washington Post or somewhere. But you didn't see it. You didn't see that at all. Do you just have to run away from it? Look, his panelists were hoping that they were wishing in that moment they could run away from it.
They were trying to make a joke on it. But you could see it in their face. And the audience reaction was like, oh. Or was there no reaction from the left because that's what they believe? That almost murder, almost genocide, they're okay with it. What's the controversy? We agree with it.
He was right. They believe he was right. There's that possibility. They look at it and go, okay. Just like his guests, shaking their heads. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. I mean, when is Piers Morgan stepped away from issuing a strong opinion or rebuttal on something? Did he come back and go, no, it's not murder. It's not kind of murder. It's not even close to murder. He didn't say that.
Because that was always the moral high ground that pro-choice was trying to make. Right. That it's not murder because it's not a human being.
Right.
Now some of the most liberal pro-choice people are saying, okay, it's almost murder, but we're okay with it because we have too many people on the planet Earth and you won't be missed. Good God. Secretary Mayorkas is the epitome of compassion and caring compared to that.
Right.
All right. I may be going too far.
Maybe.
Jeez. God, these people. I mean, what the...
But if you agree with them, you don't. You don't do anything.
Oh, my God. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
Of all the people, especially to be sitting right there, Piers Morgan didn't issue his real opinion? No, he shook his head. He affirmed it.
Shaking up and down like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's mine.
Yep. It's what I believe.
Because the next thing would be, well, no, it's not a human being. That's how I can justify it.
Right.
But it's like Bill Maher not even forget about trying to justify it's a human being or try to justify that it's not a human being. Simply say, well, yeah, it's almost murder.
Yeah.
The pro-lifers are right. They believe it's murder, and I believe, yeah, it's almost murder.
Right.
Somebody has to ask him that question. See, this is where we need follow-ups. This is why follow-up questions are so important. Somebody has to ask Bill Maher, whoever's on Bill Maher this week. By the way, before you go any further, you said you're pro-choice, but you believe that abortion is almost murder, and you're okay with it. So a couple of questions. First off, could you define almost murder? And if you're for almost murder because of the growing population in the world, are you pro almost genocide then for population control?
Right.
I want to see him explain almost murder.
Yeah. Yeah, what does that mean?
And
define that legally.
And here's the thing. This isn't coming. There'd be one thing if it was, in the arena of debate, if it was pro-life people saying that. We just dismiss them. These are absolute pro-abortion people.
Yep.
And they know what the argument. Bill Maher, he's my age, I think. I think Bill Maher's my age.
Okay.
Piers Morgan, he's been around. They know what the pro-choice debate has been, argument has been. It's not a human being.
Right.
Well, now they're basically throwing that out the window.
Yep.
Wow. That's the slow evolution, as I've talked about, that is in favor of pro-life over the last couple of decades. And the fact that the majority of people from the latest Rasmussen poll, 66%, believe there should be restrictions in the womb after the first trimester. And so it shows that everyone knows, but the vast majority now believe, and I think that's what you heard there. I think that's part of the evidence to back up what we've been saying for a while now, that it's moving in the pro-life direction, because no longer is it about murder or not murder. It's murder that we're okay with, and somewhere in the womb, the fetus becomes a human being. That's now the debate. Those are the parameters.
The
now.
Justification, based on Bill Maher's standard, moved to, we got enough people. Of all the justifications over decades, it boils down to that.
Yeah.
We got enough people. Yep. Yeah, okay, I agree. Yeah.
I didn't think the population control argument was going to be used.
It's kind of murder. And we're okay with it because, wow, it's crowded. Nobody's going to miss you.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Now, the cannibal story should go away by next week unless the president, stops to take questions while heading to the helicopter and someone says, hey, the cannibal story isn't true. Are you still sticking by it?
Right. Your White House says you weren't telling the truth.
Oh, they're not going to let him answer any questions because somebody's going to ask the cannibal question.
I don't know how it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's telling the truth here, the White House or you?
Right. Who's telling the truth? We're being told the cannibal story isn't true.
Yeah, we have a statement here. You care to respond to the statement that counters you? You know, the person that speaks for you countered you.
Hey, Jack, you don't have a point. I'll eat you up. Well, that's what we're scared of. Yeah,
right.
That's what we're...
I mean, this has to be eating you alive, Mr. President. All of these issues.
Oh, my God.
Eating you alive. And the cannibal jokes will continue.
I feel like I'm doing a tabloid show.
Yeah,
now.
right. Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.